During the terrible winter of 1697, a plague fell on the people of St. Mary's County. Illness and death were everywhere. Men, women, children. No one was safe. Fear ruled. In desperation, people looked for someone to blame. It wasn't long before they turned their malice toward an elderly spinster who lived alone in a hut in the woods. Her strange customs had long upset residents of the county. It was rumored she caused crops to fail, illness, and even death. She was said to be a witch. Her name was Moll Dyer. Convinced that she caused the plague, on a bitterly cold night in February 1698, an angry group of 10 men set out for Moll Dyer's hut just south of today's Leonardtown. As they made their way through the woods, their anger grew. Reaching the hut, they flung torches into it, setting the flimsy structure ablaze. With only a smock and alone, she ran in terror into the woods, fleeing the mob and the inferno. Her house and possessions were in flame. Moll Dyer was gone. That was all that mattered to the mob. They were rid of her forever, or so they thought. Several days had passed since that dreadful night. Then one afternoon, a young boy was out searching the woods for some stray cows. Looking into a shallow ravine, there, half buried in the snow, was a body. The right hand was laying on a rock. The boy ran to get help. Several men came out, but on seeing that it was Moll Dyer, none dared to come close. But they couldn't just leave her there. So 3 of the men picked up the frail, frozen figure. Prying her hand loose, an imprint of a hand and fingers were on the rock. Was the handprint a curse? A curse by Moll Dyer, made in her dying moments. A curse on the people who chased her from her home and who had caused her death. A curse that persists even to today. Moll Dyer was dead, yet stories about her, the rock, and the handprint on it would not go away. Few dared to go near the place she had died. Crops in the area failed. People who approached the stone fell ill. Moll Dyer had not gone away. Moll Dyer's rock remained in place for centuries until in 1968, a curious newspaper reporter, Philip Love, decided to see if he could find it.
I got a call from Woodrow Bennett, owner of a grocery store near the site of what was believed to have been Moll's hut. I've known about that rock for years, he told me. I can take you to it. Several days later, my wife and a couple of friends drove out to Moll Dyer Road. We followed Bennett up a long, steep hill, stopping at the top of a ravine. There she is, he told us. There's not another one like it in the county.
Bennett, Love, and the others clambered down to the rock. With some difficulty, they turned it over. Philip Love again.
We rolled it far enough to reveal indentations in which a hand fitted perfectly. My wife snapped a photo, but the flash cube didn't fire. I then tried my camera, same result. Moll Dyer has hexed your cameras, said Bennett. She also hexed my sunglasses, my wife added. They fell off when I stepped on them.
It wasn't until October of 1972 that the Moll Dyer Rock was removed from the woods and placed at the old jail in Leonardtown, which at the time was the headquarters of the St. Mary's County Historical Society.
Hello, I'm First Lieutenant Lawrence Pilkerton with the Maryland Army National Guard, Company A, Leonardtown. I had just joined the unit. I had just put 9 years in the Waldorf Guard, so I was handed a mission by Captain Blanchard at Leonardtown. He wanted me to move the Moll Dyer Rock from its present position to the Leonardtown Old Jail. And there were 7 men assigned to me to help move the rock. So we got together and we had a 45-minute meeting of the minds to figure out what we wanted to do and how to do it. So after that, we got the equipment together and went to the scene to where the rock was located and proceeded to clear where the rock was. We wrapped the rock in army canvas, had the truck pull it up to the edge of the field at the farm. And then we rigged a pulley and ramp and slid the rock and pulled the rock up onto the deuce and a half and secured it. And then we took the rock and the trucks to the old jail in Leonardtown. And we gently lowered the rock onto the ground. We rolled it, 10 or 15 feet into place, and we were happy with that at all. I had no difficulties at all. Things went according to plan. I was just the most nervous person in the world, knowing that I might get it to Leonardtown in 2 pieces. That was my main concern, and having to write a report about that. And everything went according to plan. I was so happy. So if it needs to be moved again, do not call me.
For 50 years, the Moll Dyer Rock sat on the ground at Leonardtown's old jail. Exposed to weather and tourists, Moll Dyer's handprint gradually eroded. To preserve this piece of county history and its legend for future generations, the St. Mary's County Historical Society, with the help of the town of Leonardtown and St. Mary's County itself, moved the rock to Tudor Hall. Now, after all this time, Moll Dyer will be remembered and honored, moving her rock in a manner befitting the era in which she lived. Carried on a replica of a 17th century sledge pulled by 4 Countians in period clothing, the rock made its way from the old jail, past the county courthouse, along historic Washington Street and Camellia Drive to Tudor Hall. Mary Dyer most likely learned about witchcraft, herbal remedies, spells, and so on, while indentured as a servant at the Nevis plantation on St. Kitts in the West Indies. Bringing and practicing these skills in St. Mary's County undoubtedly led to her being labeled a witch. Being poverty-stricken, living alone in a shack in the forest reinforced this view. The St. Mary's County Historical Society is keen to preserve the legend of Moll Dyer and the rock that bears her name and her curse. Afternoon, and thank all of you for being here and for the folks who are watching us online. This is a really special day, and we're very, very happy that you took the time to join us. My name is Peter Laporte. I'm the Executive Director of the St. Mary's County Historical Society, and we're really honored that you're here. Our task really is to preserve and honor the part of all of St. Mary's County history of which Moll Dyer is a very important part. We're going to have a lot to say about Moll Dyer. Those of you who were watching online saw a little bit of the legend of Moll Dyer and where the rock was and how it got over to here. But we'll talk about that in just a few moments. But before we get into the program, I have a whole bunch of people I'd like to thank. And I'm going to start off by thanking Lynn Buonviri, whose enthusiasm and knowledge and also her generosity is the reason why we're here today. She's been an absolute joy to be a part of this program, and her dedication to Moll Dyer and her legend is unmistakable. Lynn has written a wonderful book called Moll Dyer and Other Witch Tales of Southern Maryland, and I invite you to check into the Historical Society bookstore if you really want to know all there is to know about Moll Dyer. I also want to thank and profoundly thank Gene Wood, one of our directors, who designed and built the enclosure that you're about to see. Gene's enthusiasm for Moll Dyer and for this project has been so intense and so strong that he came in the other day, he said, you know, I've been dreaming about Moll Dyer and the rock. So all I can say to Gene is thanks. And I also want to thank a team of people who have worked with Gene, including Joseph Teeny Guy, Tommy Gash, and Pete Himmelhaber, who built the sledge, which we pulled Moll Dyer's rock over here on at one point. I also really want to acknowledge Guy and Guy Masonry, who have helped an awful lot, Triton Metals, who actually generously donated the fixture and enclosure that you're about to see, including a pretty expensive Lexan cover. Ed Del Moro at Winson Media, who is providing video services for us and for the live stream today. Mike Muma and Paragon Construction, and also Historic St. Mary's City, who provided some costumes for us for the video that if you haven't seen it, you will be able to see it on our website and on the town's website. And certainly not least partner in this project has been the town of Leonardtown, and our special thanks to Lachelle McKay, the town administrator, and the tireless efforts and real dedication of Brandy Blackstone, who's Director of Public Relations and Events, and she has been a leader in helping us put this together. So to all of them, let me ask you to extend your thanks as well. Again, we have a whole program here, and I would like to begin this by introducing Councilman Jay Mattingly, who I'm told has a special message for us from U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen. Jay?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and it's great weather for this occasion. It's a great crowd, so I just want to thank you all for being here today. Also thank the Historical Society for having us here. This is another historic event in town, so the only thing I have is a citation on behalf of Senator Chris Van Hollen, and I'll read that. This citation is presented to the St. Mary's County Historical Society on the occasion of the relocation of the Moll Dyer Rock, with appreciation for its efforts to celebrate the people, events, legends, and rich heritage of St. Mary's County, and to preserve them for future generations and to study and enjoy. And again, that's from Senator Chris Van Hollen. So again, thank you, and I hope everyone enjoys the event.
Thanks,
Yes, sir, thank you. Thanks. Yes, sir, thank you. You're all done. Thank you.
And I also understand that our Leonardtown Mayor, Dan Burris, also may have a few words to say. So Dan, if you could join at the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be part of this little introduction here, and certainly appreciate everyone's work here. And it's just another great day in Leonardtown, so welcome. Do have a proclamation for Moll Dyer Day. So, Moll Dyer Day. Whereas Moll Dyer, who died in 1698, is the name of a legendary 17th century resident of Leonardtown, Maryland, who was said to have been accused of witchcraft and blamed for a plague of influenza, and therefore was chased out of her home by a mob of villagers on a cold winter night. Her body was found a few days later frozen to a large rock, leaving on it an imprint of her right hand. Legend has it that the rock itself is cursed, and that people who go near it will experience dizziness, eventually leading to fainting. So be careful when you get close to it. And whereas in the August 1892 edition of the St. Mary's Beacon, Joseph F. Morgan wrote that Moll Dyer lived in the area for many years and that her cottage was burned while Cotton Mather held sway in the land of the Puritans. This story has been reprinted in the Chronicles of St. Mary's County Historical Society, and whereas in 1968 the Moll Dyer Rock was found in a wooded area by newspaper reporter Philip Love, remaining there until October 1972 when it was moved to the old jail in Leonardtown, where it remained for nearly 50 years. And whereas the Moll Dyer Rock was moved in February 2021 to where it is now displayed and protected at Tudor Hall, home of the St. Mary's County Historical Society. And whereas Moll Dyer's spirit is said to have haunted the land near her cabin and to never again grow crops. And it is said that unusual number of lightning strikes have been recorded there, and that a white dog is said to have caused accidents on the Moll Dyer Road, which bears her name. And now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of Leonardtown, have the distinct honor of proclaiming February 26, 2021 as Moll Dyer Day throughout Leonardtown, and encourage all of its citizens and businesses to remember well and take heed of the legend of Moll Dyer on this and every February 26th. Signed this date, Mayor and Town Council. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. And yeah, that all those things are true, by the way, the dog and the lightning strikes and all that wonderful stuff. And that's to bear in mind that be cautious. We have, you'll see, the ability to touch the rock. But as Lynn Buonviri has told us when we were moving it, you sure you want to touch it? You might want to be cautious. So speaking about Lynn, I mentioned a few moments ago that Lynn was the inspiration for this move and has been extremely generous in her support for its move, and is really a scholar of Moll Dyer. And so, Lynn, if you could, would you come up and share with us your perspective and that the real woman who was Moll Dyer?
There she is right there. Thank you. It is my great honor and privilege to be here today to commemorate the installation of this historic rock that embodies an intriguing legend that has endured for over 320 years. Not only does it represent a fascinating story of a local witch, it is a place where an incredibly strong single woman of the 17th century died as a result of the misplaced wrath of her enraged neighbors. So in that respect, it is in effect her headstone and only permanent symbol of what happened to her. Over the last 8 years, I have learned a great deal about and become very close to the real woman who was behind the legend of Moll Dyer. Mary Dyer was born in 1634 in Devon, England. And coincidentally, that's the same year that Maryland was founded. She survived the English Civil War, the plague, 2 ship journeys, 8 years an indentured servant in St. Kitts, the West Indies, and all the disease and hardship of her times. All as a single woman when it was not the best way to survive in colonial Maryland. She arrived here in 1677. She made her way as a caregiver to those around her, using whatever means she could find to do that, including herbs and spells and probably some voodoo that she learned in the West Indies. These were acceptable alternatives to a barbaric methods used by so-called medical doctors at the time. When the elements of weather and disease worked against her, she bore the focus of local citizens and the witchcraft frenzy of that period. Although they didn't mean to harm her, they did burn her house on a frigid night to force her to leave the area and leave them alone. As a result of their actions, she perished, freezing alone on that rock that fateful night. She probably did curse them and the area as her life came to an end on that rock. I think I would have done the same thing. Anyway, it is a tale come full circle for this woman and her story to be acknowledged as part of St. Mary's County history, and it is especially sweet for me to be able to facilitate that, since I am a relative of one of the possible perpetrators of the deed that did her in. My 14th great uncle, Arthur Thompson, who was living in the area at the time. If Joe Dyer is listening, or any of the Dyer descendants, then it is definitely a full circle moment for this tragic story. Let me thank all the people who have helped to bring this project to completion. You guys have gone over the moon and back to do the most professional and beautiful location for Moll Dyer Rock. I can't mention everyone, and Peter has done that already, but I especially would like to thank Peter Laporte, the St. Mary's County Historical Society Executive Director, Pete Himmelhaber, and Jean Wood, and all the board members, along with St. Mary's County, the town of Leonardtown, the mayor and staff, and the many more who have gone the extra mile to contribute to this effort. Thank you all so much. I know Moll is pleased today, and maybe has relented somewhat on her curse, and maybe she'll let go of me too.
Did you notice how the chill wind came up as soon as Lynn stood up and started talking about the thing blew off and everything? Moll is present. She's here. I'd like to ask the president of the Historical Society, Dr. John Roach, to join Lynn as we pull off the covers for the Moll Dyer Rock, and then we'll have a couple more things. John? Just pull it this way, John. Pull it this way. Thank you for the applause. Stay and introduce Janice.
Oh. It's beautiful. She looks a lot better than she used to. Let me now introduce to you a wonderfully talented poet named Janice Rosello. She wrote the poem titled Moll Dyer's Stone that is contained in my book. She is a native of St. Mary's County, a member of the Major William Thomas chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and descendant of a Maryland Revolutionary War patriot named Haswell Magruder. She was first published in 2003 when her poem My Gift won an Editor's Choice Award from the International Society of Poets. Janice has presented her poetry at events throughout Southern Maryland, including Maryland Day celebration at St. Clements Island, the displaying of the AIDS quilt in Charles County, and the DAR chapter 100th anniversary at Deep Falls. Her poetry covers a wide array of topics from social issues to history and faith. It reflects her spirit and her love of St. Mary's County. I give you Janice Rosello.
Hello. Thank you, and thank you for having me today, and thank you to Lynn and the Historical Society. It's really an honor to be here. I give to you Moll Dyer stone. In a corner of Leonardtown there stands a stone, holding the spirit of a woman that died all alone. Moll Dyer knew her herbs, she lived by herself. She had no need of others, their religion, their wealth. In the year of our Lord, 1697, there came a blizzard that rattled the heavens. That winter was like nothing seen before. It's the work of that witch, the townspeople swore. Through the woods they ran, torches afire, out to the shack of the witch known as Moll Dyer. Ma saw them coming, she slipped out the back. To the ground the townspeople burned that old shack. On that cold winter's night, so long ago, Ma ran for her life through the woods in the snow. The snow came down heavy, the wind lashed at her back, the thunder roared and the lightning cracked. To her knees she fell to that stone. Pursued, hated, cold, and alone. Ma cursed the villagers and their seed for all time, impressed in the stone for the spell to bind. Well, now the people of Leonardtown give that stone a wide berth, fearing the woman, the legend, the curse, whether she was a witch or just a lonely old soul. The stone is still standing, holding the spirit of Moll. Thank you. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, before you leave, we have a little memento for you, and so someone will be out at the end of the path with it. If you're not a member of the St. Mary's County Historical Society, please consider joining us. We have a great membership. We're always looking for volunteers, and we just welcome your support and your contribution and your interest as well. We're here to preserve the history of this wonderful county and its people and its legends. Thank you all very much for being here. God bless.